So I wanted to take a couple of seconds to talk about societies and civilization. And I think something that is worth mentioning is that for as long as sheesh, God knows when, there's always been a struggle between like three main entities. And those three entities are governance or government, right? Whether we're talking about a monarchy or, you know, oligarchy or whatever kind of archy, right? Governance or government, academia, whether that be the arts and sciences, philosophy, and the last one is religion, right? And so like there's a struggle between these three entities, you know, for as long as I can even think, right? Just in Western civilization alone, you have the scientific revolution where, there's a big struggle between, science and academia and religion, right? And, who had the answers and, that struggle for power there. It caused a lot of strife, sent a lot of people to jail, and, potentially stunted a lot of growth. Because at one point in time, the church was the center of all knowledge, and that's where you got your answers from until, the scientific revolution came and it was like, wait a minute, we got some answers too. And that was a struggle to give up power. Also the Enlightenment era, right, which was sort of philosophy and academia again, sort of like, battling with governance and like kings and kingdoms, right? These ideas that, hey, look, maybe, governance should be done a little differently so it can be better, so it can work for everybody as opposed to just the monarchy. And like these ideas is like, spawned revolutions around the world, right? The French Revolution, Haitian Revolution, the American Revolution, and a bunch of different revolutions, right, came or had like ideas rooted in the Enlightenment era. And so that's academia against government, right? And so, even government and religion, right? They battle too, right? But what we notice is that the longest living societies find a healthy balance between all three, between science and academia, government, whether kings or whatever, and the third one, oh gosh, and religion, right? They find a healthy balance between all three. And so some of those societies that I can think of is like ancient Egypt, right? They existed for, thousands of years, 3,000 approximately, right? And, they had a lot of sort of merit-based academia and a lot of cultural things that they've contributed. They had religion, right? They had good governance, right? They had pharaohs, right? They had people that led. And it was a great balance, and it existed for a long time. The Chinese civilization, right, with Taoism and Confucianism, but they had a lot of academic sort of contributions as well. And governance, right? And so there was a healthy balance between all three, and that was a civilization that lasted for a long time. Also, Indian civilization lasted for an extremely long time. Buddhism, Hinduism, right? These religions that sort of like, had widespread, and math and science and academia all worked well, and they worked together to create a society that lasted thousands of years. Some of the shortest lived societies usually have, maybe like one or two things that sort of take precedence. And, there's not necessarily a good balance between all three. The Hittite Empire, which lasted 400 years, and that's a short-lived empire. 400 years sounds like a lot of years, but it's a short-lived empire. The Kingdom of Axum is also another short-lived empire that was approximately 840 years, so it's not yet 1,000. The Sumerian civilization. These are folks that don't have a good balance between all three of these entities. They sort of start fighting each other, and then they implode, right? And they normally break down from within. From within. Now, the last thing I want to say about this is that also the longest existing empires embrace diversity and tolerance. The longest empires, empires that stay around the longest are the ones that embrace diversity and tolerance, right? And so that brings us to the United States. When I think about the United States, do we have a balance of all three? Government, religion, faith, and academia? Or does one try to take over and have more influence and put the other down? I have some ideas about it. Is there any that lead the charge? Should they lead the charge? Do we need a better mix? What about our diversity and our tolerance, right? Are we going to implode from within like the other societies that have imploded because of it? We are a country that is 200 and maybe 48 years old, almost 250 years old. We have not existed, as long as some of the shortest lived empires. Are we on our way out? At 250, we're a baby. We are a baby compared to like the longer existing civilizations. Are we on our way out? Do we have a healthy balance of all three? And are we embracing merit, diversity, and tolerance so we don't implode? Something to think about.